Hi everyone, my name's Jacqueline Geller, and we're here for episode 7 of ESFI's EndGame interview show. And here with me, I have a very special Canadian. It's FourCourtJester, or as I guess his common name is Sean Delaney, and he is joining us from Ontario, Canada. And he's a League of Legends caster. So, as some of you may know, my experience with League of Legends isn't as extensive by any means as my StarCraft 2 knowledge, but since this is my interview show and I can bring on who I like, I've asked Sean to come on. I'm not sure if your webcam froze. I think it might be on my end. I don't know. You can
rebooting it.
Okay, well, I'll start asking questions while we go along. So you've been involved in a couple of different games, I've noticed. League of Legends, you've taken a look at Holland, StarCraft 2, Bloodline Champions rather. Can you tell me what it is about League of Legends that really stuck with you?
It was more like just the transition at the time. For me, as I said, it started off with the Heroes of Newerth, dabbled a little bit in StarCraft, couldn't really compete with just the free time that people were able to put into that. And League of Legends was still fledgling at the time, and so I was looking for a new game, and it had a lot of the same principles as the old MOBAs that I used to play all throughout high school, all throughout university. And yeah, I just started developing connections and friendships, and I just kind of stayed.
So what kind of games did you used to play in terms of MOBAs before League of Legends came out?
Oh, RTS has been me, as my smiley picture of Doom sits there nicely on your stream. Stupid Skype. Anyways, RTS has always been me. First-person shooters to a degree. I do like a good game of Halo, the GoldenEye 64 way back in the day. But yeah, Blizzard games got me into video gaming. The whole real-time strategy, Command and Conquers were my bread and butter. Those really were my big influences in my early life. And getting into the whole real-time strategy, you're used to the viewpoint, you're used to multitasking. Look at the amount of micro and macro you need these days for StarCraft 2. I mean, I'm not going to say you needed that back then, but you got used to that kind of mindset, came to Dota, and it's just like, wow, that's a really cool concept. Take the heroes of Warcraft and just pit them against each other, and I've just been playing it ever since. Easy as that.
Yes, as a Blizzard fan, are you looking forward to Blizzard Dota, where you actually get to compete with all of the Blizzard champions?
I'm going to be playing Blizzard Dota. I don't think I'll ever see that as becoming a career or anything. I mean, commentating it could be fun. I mean, we got the built-in spectator support of StarCraft 2, and it's very robust and it's very awesome. But I'll play it. I'll enjoy it. It's like a big throwback to your childhood to me. It'll be very nostalgic, seeing all the champions go up against each other in StarCraft 2 engine. But I don't think I could ever really leave League of Legends or any other game for it. I just don't think there'll be that big a market for it.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you saw a lot of the details on it, but I was at BlizzCon when they had the big talk about it. It seems really cool that they want to kind of push the boundaries of MOBAs, like introducing things like mounts. And they had a couple other cool, maybe kitschy ideas, but we'll see how it goes.
I heard about the mounts, and immediately I thought, oh great, so they're just making it easier to get around, and people are going to call it immediately on this casualness. But hey, mounts, Deathbringer, Arthas, it's a good time. Oh hey, your producer has a picture of me from MOG. That's cool.
Are you just looking at the stream now?
Yes, I am.
So what do you think is most interesting about League of Legends, both kind of casually and competitively? I guess it's hard too, because as a caster, you kind of have to play two different roles. You're a couple different roles. You're like a player, you're a fan, and you're a critic, and you're a caster. So I guess kind of in all those roles, what do you think is most interesting?
Well, for me, sitting down and casting a game, I really enjoy seeing the strategies unfold, like how the players are all executing everything, and I get to see what's in their mind. What are they doing? What was the influences that made their decisions there? And that's a huge learning experience for me as well. I can definitely say that casting and watching other casted games has really brought up my game on both Heroes of Newerth and League of Legends. But yeah, I also have favorites that I like to watch as well. I'm always down to sit down and watch TSM or Atlanta, in action. Team Reflex, I do enjoy to watch them, and that gives me, as an outsider point of view, that also gives me that, inside perspective of what they're doing because it's all ventcast, it's all teams chat, whatever they're doing. So taking both of those roles and using those experiences, bringing them to my casting, that's kind of what I do enjoy most about this. There's a lot of content I can play around with and bring that to my viewers. I'm not sure if there's a part of the question I missed. It
Oh,
was
no
kind of
worries.
a
Just kind of like
multi-parted question.
interesting things that you like about the game. And why do you think people, there's so many games, and especially within the MOBA genre, like you have Heroes of New Earth, you have Dota 2 coming out. What do you think is the catch for League of Legends?
It definitely has a big worldwide presence going for it right now, and you gotta kind of give that into the whole sense of it's just easy to pick up. People say that could be a bad thing in the competitive sense, it's too, quote, casual. And my answer always to that is, it's easy to pick up, but it's hard to master. I mean, only a few people really in the world has ever taken League of Legends from scratch to pro status in any kind of decent time frame. So, I kind of just dismiss the whole casualness of it, but easy to pick up, easy to get into. It's translated to multiple languages. There's servers across the world, and you just jump into a game. Matchmaking's fairly quick. It's supported for all levels, and a lot of people do enjoy the RPG aspect of it. They like to try to level up, get those next runes. There's something always driving them, and that really brings to longevity of play, which is kind of what you want as a game developer. You want people to keep playing a game after the first, initial hours. Like, for example, Skyrim, right? You can play it for 90 hours, but after that, you're just kind of, well, I've already done everything, so I'll move on to another game. And that kind of stuff really hurts a MOBA. You play it for 50 hours and you're just kind of bored of it. You don't ever want that. So League of Legends always producing more content, trying to keep people playing, and I think, well, their numbers speak for themselves in that regard.
Do you think the free-to-play format really helped with that?
Freemium has become quite the thing in pretty much every video game genre right these days. Even World of Warcraft is now, quote, freemium. I mean, sure, it's only 20 levels, but it gets you in. It gets you that taste. League of Legends was the first of the MOBAs to go to freemium. Han eventually had to follow suit. They kind of had their hand forced at that regard. And even Dota, you had to buy Warcraft 3 to play it, so it wasn't quite free. But yeah, the free-to-play aspect really helps. Gamers love free-to-play games. They'll play anything. And look at Steam. Even the like $2 or $3 deals, they go through the roof when they come all the way out into the public. So free, yeah, sure. You can attribute a lot of downloads just because it's free.
I'll definitely admit that, like, one of the reasons I started playing, well, I guess part of the reason is just that that's kind of our LAN center game, like our you casted our tournament is like really like a League of Legends center. And yeah, just like you can't really say no. It's like, well, why don't you play some League of Legends? Like you can't be like, well, I can't afford it because it's free. So
the business model of you pay $60 and you buy a game, and it seems to be going out the window these days. It's all about the freemium content because you can generate thousands of dollars of content from a single user that way. And
what do you? Oh, sorry, you can keep going.
Well, for example, freemium means it's free to play, but if you want kind of more premium kind of stuff, you need to pay real money. I literally have a friend that has spent 4 digits on this game. Go back in time, Warcraft 3, $60. He never spent another penny. You can see how the business models are kind of shifting. Companies are loving it, people are loving it, but of course, not everyone spends 4 digits.
So I guess kind of on that note, have you ever invested additional money into League of Legends? And what do you kind of like to buy? Do you like the skins? Do you like new characters? Like, what is it that you invest in?
I've always been more of a fan of hard work. Okay. And so I have to say I think I've spent $25 on the game in 2 years.
That's okay.
I like to earn my way, even through other games that have these, paid content things. I like to try to earn it myself. I have spent $25 to buy my wife an RP card so she can buy her Annie and her Annie skins, and she has spent $25 on me as a present. So collectively, we have spent $50.
I can say that's like pretty similar. And I played World of Warcraft pretty heavy for a couple of years. And when they started having like the paid pets and the paid mounts, I never bought any for myself, but like one of my good friends, she collects mounts. So it was like, I could either buy you like, I don't know, some sort of present or, roses or whatever. Like I go to her house a lot to eat dinner. It's like, or I could buy you like, the winged celestial steed is what I bought her. It's like, it's a pretty small amount. So she appreciated it. So yes, on the topic of champions, what do you think of the newest champion? I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Natilius? Is that right?
I always just, for some reason in my mind, I always see him as Nautilus. Like,
Is there like
the
an
underwater.
extra eye in
There
it?
might be, but I always just
Okay.
see the Nautilus in my head. Well, the big daddy of League of Legends, he does kind of look like that big daddy, and he comes from underwater. That's where BioShock took place. But, the inspirations aside, he's has good ganking potential. Throw him in as a jungler. I've seen him laning. I've seen him try to rip people in half with Blitzcrank pulling the other way. But he's a pretty decent, solid addition. I haven't seen really too much negative feedback, but I haven't got to play him myself yet either.
It's like I come from a StarCraft background where, like we get patches every so often, but like, we never have a new unit until a new, expansion is coming out. So looking at League of Legends where you have a new character every 2 weeks, like what do you think about that? And do you think it kind of hinders League of Legends or does it really help or is it too much?
Well, it helps as in it keeps the content fresh for people, and really you do kind of need to keep cranking out that kind of material if you want to keep your user base hooked. But at the same time, I think they could slow it down by now. I mean, we're cresting up to close to 100 now, and every 2 weeks, where do you stop? When are you done designing champions? Is it going to go on forever? And when will the quality eventually become just so terrible that nobody will ever buy it again? So I think that they could tend to slow it down now from a competitive sense, and it's a big point amongst a lot of different people is that, this is not a competitive game. You're releasing overpowered champions every 2 weeks to get the money. You nerf them subsequently after the next release, and then you just never see them again. Because in the tier list, we're pretty solid on what characters we kind of run these days. I think they could slow it down. Other things that we could see is, maybe increase in skin production, or there was mumblings of another map out there. Molten, oh, great. The name of it now escapes me. Molten something. Lava Core, Molten Core, Magic Core. I don't know. Magma's Chamber. That was it. Started with an M. Yeah, so, I mean, they could start diverging. Heroes of Nerus tried that for a bit. We had avatars, we had new maps, we had easy mode revamps and all that. But, I think champion sales is going to be their bread and butter for money. So when do you call it quits? And if you call it quits, does that mean you're done with the game? And I don't think people want to see the end of the game. So it's a really tough decision, and it's really going to shape the future of the company when they do decide to stop those heroes. But it has to stop at some point. And my question is, what are they going to do then? I'd like to see some additional maps, but not everyone, I think, would agree to that.
Do you think that it's possible to have like a pay model for new maps, or do you think that kind of thing has to stay free?
I can't imagine a paid model for maps. I mean, now you're like treating it like Call of Duty. So, oh, great, the map sold excellent. Let's do the next one, $25. Sure. Thank you.
I know
Yeah.
Blizzard's actually going in that direction, if you didn't know.
Kotick owns
for-
Blizzard.
Yeah, for Heart of the Swarm, they're doing, what they plan on doing is like a marketplace. So if you're a custom map maker and you've made like a little game or something, I guess like, kind of seeing like Dota in Warcraft, you can put it up for $5 or whatever. I'm not sure how much Blizzard takes a cut out of it, but, you're selling your game for $5. I think, if you make the next Dota, that's good for you and you'll make good money, but I just don't know in the long term if it's a sustainable model or will really do much for a lot of people. I think it will do something for some people, but I guess we'll kind of see how that goes in the next 2 years. back to kind of the new champions, what do you do when a new champion is announced or released? Is there a special kind of preparation that you do to get used to seeing it in game or playing it?
Well, when they announce it, it's typically through concept art. So all you have to do is look at a pretty picture. It doesn't actually tell you really too much. They'll do the mechanics, and then they'll include it into the patch preview. And typically, patch preview comes out maybe 2 days before the patch. So, just make sure you watch it and try to commit some of those mechanics, or at least give some kind of mnemonic in your head so you can understand the mechanics when they come out. It's always a little tricky when a hero first comes out because you don't really know the potential of it yet. A lot of people like to tune into the pro streams of those days because, the pros are just loaded with RP and they're going to buy that hero. Try to play it as much as you can. Phantom Lord, for example, I think was like world first Volibear stream for 12 hours, and he had a bazillion viewers, and people got to see the potential of Volibear. Fortunately, he seems to have faded from public eye these days, but really a lot of people turn to the pros, and it's no exception for me. Like, I'll see how the pros handled it in, those high elo games. I'll see, what kind of reactions and what kind of stress that hero can take, how they play it, and if it was successful or not. And from there, just make your own kind of opinion.
So what kind of champions and roles do you like to play when you're playing in game? Do you actually even play that much, or is it more casting that you do?
I'd like to play more than I currently. I have actually just accepted a new job, which will give me a little bit more flexibility in that regard. I think actually I do more casting than playing these days, which is a little unfortunate for me because I like to do it the other way around. Not that I'm complaining that I'm getting more casting. It's always great to be busy, but yeah, I'd like to increase my play a little bit, maybe hit ranked again, but it's just
a lot of work, a lot of time.
I don't like ranked so much. But yeah, I'd like to play more. Right now, I think I actually do more casting than playing, though.
So which champions do you like to play?
I'm a big fan of AD bottom lane, and if I can't get that, last time I was on a big playing binge, I was practicing on my support, but they went and nerfed my Sona. So now I don't know what I really want to do. But jungling is okay. I got a few junglers. I like running Rammus. Severe is my top favorite, followed by Caitlyn, and then Ashe. I don't know. For me, auto attack champions just click well. Me and AP, I just cannot seem to get the hang of it. Like, I'll do fine in some games, and I'll just get dominated in others. But typically, I feel much more comfortable with an AD role. Yep.
So I guess kind of the big question is, if you're able to create your own character, what would it be? And what kind of, I don't know, things would it be able to do?
Oh, mercy. Give me the power to make a champion, huh?
Yeah.
See, most people ask me, if you could get a skin into the game, and I'm always like FourCourtJester for sure. But a champion, I've never really given that too much thought. But since I do like to play my AD bottom lane, AD range, it would probably be something akin to that. I loved the old boomerang mechanic from Severe. It was definitely a lot of fun. So maybe a mix between some of my favorite stuff in LoL as well as my favorite stuff in Han. I could probably fly out an idea given time, but honestly, I've never even thought of making my own champion. I'm not a very big creationist in that regard. It drives my friends nuts. They're like, let's go into the Halo Forge and make a map. I'm like, oh, God, I'm so bad at this. Or let's go into the Han editor and make a map. Or let's go into the RTS editor and make a map. That's just not me. Me and Minecraft, I've never played it. I have no interest in it. I don't know. That kind of stuff just doesn't really get my gears going.
I don't know. I like I'm working on like a StarCraft custom melee map, and I've played Minecraft once, and I wasn't really that into it, but I like map making. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not really into Minecraft. What about if you could remove a champion from the game? Who would you remove, and why would you take them out?
I would probably go with Lee Sin. The jungle ganker himself, the blind monk, he just always ruins my day. If he's on my team, he's a noob. If he's on against the other team, on the other team, he's always dominating me. It's really annoying. So yeah, I have a healthy hatred for the blind monk. Has nothing to do because he's blind or anything. It's just I hate his ganking potential, and he's still a fairly decent pick these days. I know he's been hit a little bit by the nerf bat, but In the top elo, I like how Rammus came back. I absolutely adore Rammus, except when I'm against him. Nocturne I can live with, but yeah, I think number one pick would be that Lee Sin. Lee Sin or Graves? I always hated going against Graves. His ratios are still too high for my liking. And I don't own him, which is the other issue.
Is he like, how do you, I guess, decide which champions you're going to buy and what order you buy them?
As I said, I kind of earn everything as much as I can through the IP gain.
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest priority has always been runes, and then I'll just make do with the free. But right now I'm focusing a lot on AD and support. I got my Rammus, I got my Warwick Jungle if I ever need to get back into them. But yeah, I'm still saving for Graves. I just bought Vayne. I think Vayne was my last purchase, and I have Misfortune now, and Corki because I think he was on sale. But yeah, I'm still fleshing out my whole AD roster and my support roster. All I got is Sona.
Is Graves your next purchase then, do you think?
If I can afford him. It takes a while to get up to 6,300 IP.
Is he one of the characters that just never goes down in price?
A lot of them have a tendency of not going down into price. I mean, that's how Riot likes to try to make their money, right? Especially the high tier, or at least depends on what kind of tier list you subscribe to. But the high tier list heroes typically are 6,300. Like Kennen, for example, right? We just had a big bout of AD Kennen from IEM, thank you to M5, and you're like, oh man, I'll go play Kennen. He's been out from release. He should be cheap. No, he's still 6,300.
Do you think that maybe Riot watches that and like definitely jacks up the flavor of the month?
I'm not too sure if it's like as intentional as you just said right there, like jacked up. It's just I don't know. That phrasing always makes me think of it like an evil corruption, jacking up oil prices, for example.
Yeah.
That's a common phrase up here for us Canadians, at least over here in Toronto.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know where you live, but I live in Alberta.
Yeah, Miss Oil Producing Province. Yeah, I'm in the consuming province of Toronto. Yeah, so
Yeah.
but. I mean, they do go on sale. Like all those 6,300s, they do get hit by sales every now and then. Is there any rhyme and reason to it? I don't know. I'd have to go back and actually plot out all the sales and see what's going on in those times to see if they actually do have a rhyme and reason to it. As far as I can tell, it's just random. Just like, well, he hasn't been on sale in a while. Let's put him on sale now, and then 6 months later, he'll go on sale again or something.
I guess it's just like one of those things you have to watch carefully.
I'm kind of interested now in that. Maybe I'll do that as a pet project.
I wonder, yeah, like I wonder if there is sort of like a rhyme or reason. You'd have to kind of chart it against something, maybe like competitions, and see like, this character is really popular, or this character did something really great at IEM. How has like the price affected?
I would assume that if somebody really popularized a hero, Cassiopeia got really big a few patches ago, and now we've had to go nerfing all the spell vamp because of solo mids like her and Vladimir. So if you get a big flavor of the month like that, I can only imagine that the prices would not go down for a while, and then after she kind of starts fading off, oh here, we'll put her on sale and you can go back to that old meta. Yeah, sometimes that happens, but I don't know. I'd have to go out and price everything. It's a really interesting idea.
So on that note, we're actually going to take our first commercial break. So
Okay.
Stay tuned, everyone. Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Jacqueline Geller, and with me I have Sean Delaney, also known as FourCourtJester, and we're just sitting down and talking about some League of Legends. So we were kind of talking about champions, and now we're kind of going to talk about people. So as a spectator, do you have any high-level players that you enjoy as a fan, or any that just kind of like strike you as players to watch?
Well, as mentioned before, I do like to sit down and watch when those new heroes come out. Some of the more higher elo players out there. Team Solo Mid, any of them are always entertaining. Saint Vicious on his jungle, man. That stuff is almost like just Hollywood worthy. But some of the lesser known teams I've actually become quite fond of. Atlanta, Picture of a Goose, they've really risen to fame, and watching Atlanta's team just work their magic is sometimes a thing of beauty. And Team Reflex, I watch quite a bit of them as well over on Twitch TV. They've given me a lot of their material to cast, and some of their execution can be very spot on. And yeah, it's just a thing of beauty when a plan comes together and you get that extra kill, you win the team fight, you win the game, momentum shifts. These guys produce all that, at least for me. So I always like to try to help them out, sponsor, watch their ads, tune into their streams, and cast their games, get them a little bit of publicity because they give me a lot of entertainment, and I try to repay that to them.
Do you like the team aspect of League of Legends, or do you find that it's more frustrating, or do you prefer single games?
I guess it depends on how the individual would be playing the game. If you're coming in through solo queue, it can definitely be a very frustrating experience. That is no lie, and probably one of the biggest detriments to our genre as is. But going in with a bunch of friends or as a competitive team with a 5-man goal in mind, you got your voice communication, you know each other's habits, you're used to playing with each other, so you can get ahead in that regard. That is really enjoyable to me when you're all on the same page and you're all on the same goal. And you're not fighting each other, you're not trolling each other, and nobody's feeding excessively on your team. So it really comes down to how you play it. If I play solo, typically it's a less than pleasurable experience. If I play with friends or we get a 10-man going with viewers, a 5v5 competitive, that's a lot more fun to me.
So in terms of game mechanics and your champions and all that kind of fun stuff, what are you kind of hoping for from Riot in the next couple months?
Well, number one is probably the same thing I've been saying for quite a while now. Give me a pause function. I think that's kind of the big thing we're lacking at this point. League of Legends is the only MOBA without a pause function, and yes, it is on tournament realm. That's not exactly good enough. We got 4 million unique players logging in around the world to play this game, and I have been witness to tournaments even before the whole pause functionality was input, where the game was lost simply because of some random disconnect. Could have been 30 seconds, but the team fight was lost or they're out of position. Now we got the Baron. Now we got the momentum shift. The game literally was over because of one disconnect. And you can easily see that replicated on public realm, on any of our EU servers, NA, Korea. It doesn't matter. We don't have a pause function, and that has a tendency of ruining games. I myself have blue screened on Champion Select to come in, about 6 minutes later, and they were already calling GG. The bottom lane was pushed out. We were already down a lane, or the jungles came in and they were super aggressive because they knew they could be, and that just ends up being a waste of time for everyone. If we had a pause function, maybe we could have salvaged the game a bit. That's my number one. I would really like to see a pause function. Past that, give me a real spectator, out of beta, and past that, give me some replays. Those are what I need, personally, to keep doing what I do.
So talking about doing what you do, you've actually been recently casting for the IGN Pro League. How did you kind of segue into that role?
If you got proof, I was casting for the IGN Pro League. I think you might mean the After Hours Gaming League.
Oh,
with Day 9 TV?
No, I thought I was reading tweets about you doing.
I was asking them.
Oh, okay.
But They have everything under control on their end. No hate there. They just have everything
Yeah,
under
they have
control. So,
in-house casters. I guess kind of talking
yep.
about that, like how do you feel about in-house casters? Do you think that, IGN's putting a lot of money into, I guess they have, yeah, their two League of Legends casters, like securing kind of people to work for them. How do you feel about that? And is that something that you want to do, or do you kind of like being the independent role?
I'm a big fan of being the independent role myself, but I mean, I know both Hat Person, I know Baron Cass are the two that got hired into IPL, and they do fantastic work. I'm very happy that they found something that they love to do, but it's also not even just IPL. I mean, Absolute Legends now has a casting team for their all their EU stuff. CLG is looking for their own, in-house casting duo. They've now announced that big league tournament so that they can keep trying out people. And it seems to be a thing that's going forward is going to be happening, whether we want it to or not. As a free agent, I kind of see it as, the King's Guard versus the Mercenary. The King's Guard, of course, is going to be first shot because the Mercenary is a free spirit. You pay him the money, he goes off. Next time, he might just be busy with someone else. And I kind of do enjoy the whole free roaming aspect that I get to do. But in-house casting, I mean, I think it's a great idea. It adds more talent to the pool. It's hopefully going to be taking more pressure off of Riot to supply their own casting to a lot of these tournaments. And, it just promotes the game. I mean, now we have more content, more things for people to watch, and we get a lot more coverage out there. And there's no such thing as bad coverage in this regard. Anything that you can get out there that can promote your game is a positive thing. So I'm quite happy with it. I'm not sure I'll ever become one, but I have no issues with it.
So I guess After Hours Gaming League, how did you get involved with that?
I'm trying to remember the exact details. I was casting a game of Picture of a Goose, and they're up against a team called Built Around Mordekaiser, which ironically didn't even have a Mordekaiser in that game. But one of their members on there was actually part of the AHGL volunteer task force, and he saw my coverage of it, and he actually was going to send me an email saying, hey, I work with AHGL TV. We're launching League of Legends, and I've put your name to the guys here, and they said, yeah, we'd like to get you involved. Now, he would have done that had I not approached them. So either way, I think it was a secured thing. But I actually did approach them after I discovered Season 2 was going to have League of Legends, and they said, hey, we're going to call you anyways. But I guess, my name is reaching some more ears than I really kind of realized. But it was really cool of them to extend that invite, and it was good fun doing that 1 week. And I might be able to do another one down the line. I don't know. I just tell them anytime something goes wrong, just let me know. I can cover. But yeah, they're getting a lot of people involved in that. That's really cool, and it's really good to see Day9 kind of branching out into other games at this point as well.
On that note, my Skype's like not acting it's like about to freeze, but I'm still in the call, so I'm just not going to mess with it.
Good old Skype.
Yeah, gosh. Ooh, this is like walking on pin needles. So you also casted in for MLG Raleigh. Was that your kind of first live esports experience?
It was indeed.
How was that?
It was invigorating. It was immensely awesome, and I got to meet a whole bunch of really cool people in terms of fans, in terms of the MLG staff, production members, gaming organization representatives. Like, I got to meet Lord Jareth at a VVV Gaming. I got to meet Rivington in person. I got to meet Holy Spork and Nugs the Pirate, who have become, quote, my two biggest fans. I got to meet a whole lot of people in different capacities, and they flew me out there, which was an experience. I've never been to North Carolina. Unfortunately, there was a hurricane going on, so let's just admit that part. And other than the issues that the hurricane brought up and the fact that the Riot client kind of did not work for us that weekend, it was an amazing weekend overall. Got to meet a whole bunch of awesome people, and if I could do it again, I definitely would. It was a very big positive experience for me.
Do you plan on going to a lot of live events in 2012?
It comes down to the money, really.
So it
Uh,
always is, isn't it?
yeah, crossing the border, from us, flying anywhere is minimum $500, right there. And if you're not getting sponsored, that's out of my pocket, and my pocket is not exactly super deep. I got a house, I got a car, I have a lovely wife that I need to put first before this kind of stuff. And sometimes the money just isn't there. Now, of course, if somebody wants to fly me there, sure, I'm all ears. We can talk, but me as attending as a fan, anything in the States is a lot of money. Border crossings suck. Driving even to Boston is 10 hours, or flying there is $500. So, yeah, I'll pick and choose, but I hope to get to at least one or two this year.
So kind of on a note, this is more of my personal advice for you. I haven't done it yet, but there's a border control program called the Nexus program for
Yeah.
Canada to the US. Yeah, so I'm definitely applying that before the esports season starts up. For anyone who's listening who's a Canadian going to the US, or a United or an American coming to Canada, I don't know really why you do that often, but this program just allows you to like fast pass through customs with just like a retina scan. So it's really handy. I plan to do it for esports events, so definitely like something to look into for us Canadians stuck up in the frozen north.
Yeah, it's actually hasn't been really that frozen, at least for me over here in Toronto. It's been a very mild winter, which is very concerning.
Yeah, it was mild here too. Like we had like 1 week of like -40, which was pretty cold. But no, it's like pretty mild now. Yeah, like it's like hovering around zero. So no, we barely have had any snow, which is okay. There's still snow in the mountains, so it's okay for snowboard season. But yeah, it's like I'm just looking outside. There's like not a whole lot of
Yeah,
winter going on.
don't worry. Tremblanc's still kicking a lot of snow right now. I just came back from that last weekend, which was an amazing trip. But yeah, Nexus. I did see Nexus on some of my trips. I was curious what it was. So if it becomes a big travel thing, for sure, it sounds like a good idea. So thank you for the advice.
Yeah, I went to the States 4 times for esports last year. And actually, one time going to Providence, the airport power went out and everyone had to get through or check through customs manually. So they had to go through all of our bags. So it's just like one of those things where you're like, why didn't I get the Nexus card? There's like no one waiting in the Nexus line. And you're like, why am I standing here? So awful. Anyways, getting back to you.
Yep.
I know that you cast, so my local Edmonton LAN center has a lot of tournaments, and it feels like probably a month and a half ago now, you're casting the Edmonton Show of the Rift tournament. How do you feel about local scenes, and do you think that's something that League of Legends needs to promote, or just esports in general?
I love local scenes. Getting together with people that you know and duking it out over the weekend is a very entertaining experience. We do LAN parties all the time here in Toronto, but it's not for League of Legends. But generally, we get all our friends together. We duke it out. We have an amazing time, and you can definitely see that in local events. I mean, the event that we commentated here with Uni, the Unicorn. Big shout out to him. Over in Edmonton. I mean, it was fun times. It sounded like everyone was having fun based upon what I could hear in his background, and we see a lot of that, especially in the States, with like university leagues, collegiate leagues, and intramural leagues. I know that for example, I've been told that there's high schools running in-house leagues these
Pretty
days.
impressive, yeah.
Now, majority of that is in the States, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with local scene. Now, would Riot need to support that? It's always good to support the little guy, but I mean, they don't need to it's not front page material. Like, there wouldn't be that many people wanting to watch a bunch of 15-year-olds get together and smash heads on League of Legends. But, if those organizers were to reach out to Riot, there's a lot of money in that. They've dedicated what, $5 million to the tournament scene this year. I have to assume part of that has to be for the small events. So absolutely, it's a great idea. Get together, have some fun, and maybe you can even get Riot to sweeten the deal a little bit.
So you've definitely, like, especially over the last year, gotten your name out a lot more. You went to your first live event, you started networking. What kind of advice can you give to, the up and coming casters or journalists or just people who want to get involved in the community?
Uh, well, it's probably not going to be a very quick process. That's at least it wasn't for me. I mean, I'm coming up to, I think, 2, if not 3 years now doing this stuff, and only now I just crested 2,000 followers, crested 5,000 subscribers. It's slow and steady, at least for me. But there are some people that explode onto the scene, instant following, and all the more power to them. That's awesome for them. But practice makes perfect. Consistency will go a long way. Use the social media and practice, practice, practice. The only way that you can ever show people that you're doing stuff is to show them that you've done stuff. That means you have to do stuff. That means you just can't sit on your haunches and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a commentator," and never do anything until you get hired. Doesn't quite work like that. You need a nice solid resume behind you, and people will come to you. If you have a consistent stream up, 5 o'clock, 3 days a week on this day, this day, this day, people can definitely get behind that. They know where to find you. They know where to promote, to the various places, and they know a time and a place where you're going to be to answer those promotions. So consistency, practice, and a little bit of patience.
So I guess kind of talking about streaming, do you like streaming as a caster or do you just like streaming as a player?
I like doing both. I'm definitely more of a YouTube guy rather than a live stream because, yay, Canadian internet. I'm not going to get started on that. But, yeah, I could definitely do a lot more. I have a lot more freedom when I could just locally record it and put it up onto the YouTube. My stream does suffer, but it's the same content. I don't do anything differently. I don't mind streaming. I just wish I had a bit more of a better connection for that kind of stuff. But I like to throw out fun games. I don't really stream my competitive stuff because it's few and far between. But if it's a really high-profile team and people want to watch it, sure, I'll stream it out there. I have no trouble with that. So yeah, Twitch. I mean, they're trying. Obviously, the majority of everyone is owned. But there's a lot of people that like to watch this stuff, and you got to try to appease the people.
So this week, you shared some really exciting news, I think on Monday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. You're actually going to be doing web development in the future, like very near future, for Team Solo Mid. How did this project and, how did you get up with this?
Well, just trying to get my words in order here.
Yeah, no worries.
Ever since I was little, Blizzard got me into gaming. And from that, I have always said, my parents can confirm this for you, I want to do video games. I want to program video games. I want to join Blizzard when I get older. I want to make the next Warcraft, the next Diablo, whatever. So video game design and development has always been a big thing to me, and went to school for computer science. Unfortunately, university degrees around here don't really hold too much relevance to video games, and my interests kind of shifted slightly more to web development. So PHP, backends, front ends, HTML and CSS, fun stuff like that. After I graduated and before I got a job, I founded a freelance business, and from there, I started doing just contract work. Well, I ended up doing some contract work for Team Solo Mid after a few of their 1v1 tournaments that I got to commentate. And they're like, "Hey, we need somebody to do this." I said, "Oh, I can do that." And they're like, "Oh, okay." So we worked out a pretty cheap contract, and I did some work for them, and apparently they just really liked the work. So I did the contract and went my separate ways, got myself a full-time job. Almost 2 years later, I noticed Team Solo Mid has a fully fledged developer position up on their website. So I load up my old contacts, on Skype, like, "Hey, bro, what's this about a developer position?" Like, "Oh, are you interested?" I'm like, "Of course I'm interested." So they told me the details. I said, "Wow, that's kind of cool. Where do I apply?" Like, "Oh, well, we loved your work before. You start Monday."
Oh, that's so exciting.
It's kind of how it happened. Like, "Oh, wow, okay, well, I'll go to work, put in my 2 weeks notice, and now I'm talking to them about what needs to be done and formulating plans, and It's not exactly the whole work for Blizzard thing, but it's still pretty cool.
One step closer.
Yeah, for sure. I like the guys at TSM. So,
do you think this will kind of affect your biases as a caster, or will you kind of keep that out of the picture?
At this point, they haven't mentioned anything about affecting my casting.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I don't foresee any kind of changes needed or that will be introduced or proposed. Down the line, maybe a year from now, I might be a little biased because I just know the guys that much better. But no, at this point, I don't foresee any kind of issues, and I'll try to stay as objectional as possible.
Makes sense. So can you give us any hints for what your future projects are?
Professionally or casting-wise?
Both.
Well, I have at least one, if not two, tournaments that people have contacted me for. So I'm hoping that those actually, go well, and they do happen. I'm not going to be going anywhere in the tournament scene for sure. And if anybody has a tournament, they like my work and they'd like to work with me, I'm a pretty accessible guy. Twitter's up, Facebook is up, YouTube's been there forever. It's okay, love. It's okay.
You deserted me.
As my wife. But yeah, I mean, my tournament stuff will hopefully keep rocking, and people will hopefully keep enjoying it and supporting that. And professionally, I'm going to see what I can do with the TSM websites.
Okay, so on that note, we're going to take our second commercial break, and then we're going to get into some community League of Legends questions. So, second commercial break, and we'll be right back. Hi everyone, we're back, and my name's Jacqueline Geller, and this is ESFI's interview show, EndGame. And just want to give you a little side note. If you like this program or anything that ESFI does, you can definitely check us out on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. So definitely like, subscribe, or follow. It means a lot. It gives us a way to spread our content and just kind of like show support for what we do and that you appreciate it. So definitely check us out if you like what we're doing. But with me, I have Sean Delaney, who is FourCourtJester, Canada's very own League of Legends caster. I don't actually really know any other League of Legends casters, to be honest, so I'll just say you're the only one that I know, but I honestly don't know that much compared to Sarah.
Canadian ones I'm not too sure of, but there's definitely more in the field. Oh, you got Ewan. How could you forget Ewan?
I guess I don't know, I see him as more of a lovable player than
yeah. Well, caster. He's a player turned caster, yeah. That's right, Ewan, I said it.
We'll see if I don't know, he says that he wants to get back into playing, so we'll see which way he goes, right, Unicorn? But anyways, getting back to you. What do you think, there's, especially on Reddit, you always hear, hive mind, like everything kind of gets upvoted or downvoted, but League of Legends kind of has this hive mind too, where, you have such biases of characters, of flavors of the month, or, very big opinion for or against something. Like, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about Reddit in general?
Oh, well, even just like the League of Legends community, especially, like it just seems like everyone either loves something or they hate it, or it's like there's no real like,
In between?
yeah, everyone either is really for something or really against something.
Yeah, the Reddit can either be a really powerful tool to get your message out there, or it's going to be a really huge slap in the face because people don't like what you're doing. And it's kind of dicey to ever really put anything up there that's related to esports because there's always these big biases. Oh, you're not Riot, or oh, you're not ESL. Why would I listen to anything of you? But to be fair, I mean, they also have their good apples and they have people that give you your chance and will actually give you the feedback. Reddit's a very powerful social tool that I would absolutely recommend people to start getting used to, simply because if nothing else, you'll start learning how to deal with the criticism that it provides. As to the hive mind aspect of it, majority of the time, people are, yeah, as you said, really positive or really negative. I mean, they know if it's a good idea or they know if it's a terrible idea. There's not really too much debate going on in that. I always go to Reddit for my drama. I always see it as a big gossip hive, a big drama hive. That's how I always just treat going to it. I'm like, oh, what kind of juicy things are here today that we can make fun of?
And so, what do you kind of think of the other regions in terms of League of Legends, like I guess China, Korea, and Europe?
China, Korea, and Europe?
Yeah.
Well, China, I would say, definitely has some top-notch talent in there. I mean, look at the World Elite. Came out swinging out of nowhere into the cybersports dawn of champions, and then they went on to win IEM Guangzhou, or however you say it. That English tongue of mine, yeah. But Korea, I mean, apparently Korea has this mega huge community in there that I just never hear about. And I think that's because it's just really I don't speak Korean. Like if I went to the Korean fan sites, I mean, I'd probably hear just a bazillion things about it. But over here in English world, not really so much. But Korea, I mean, they just launched the OGN Network League of Legends show. They're hosting a $200,000 tournament. They're having gaming houses. Like apparently, a big StarCraft player, Yellow, is now a LoL coach out there. Like
Yeah, that was like just announced this morning.
that's it seems to have some crazy support out in Korea. I'd have to say it's probably as big, if not bigger, than like North America in terms of League of Legends. There's a lot of people out there in Korea, and they love their video games. That is for sure. Europe, I would say, is probably singly the biggest because we had to even split their servers in two. I mean, that's a lot of people that you're dealing with right there. And I don't know, Europe also seems to have like a huge, big. Not too sure what the best word here is, but I'm going with viewership for now because of ESL. ESL is always hosting, competitions. They're usually hosted out of Europe, and they get some huge numbers. I'd say right now they're probably leading in, media production for League of Legends at this point.
So, do you think that the European scene is a lot stronger than the North American scene?
Well, just by numbers alone, it for sure is. And I mean, what do we have in North America? We got the National ESL, which runs a big tournament every blue moon, and then they got the Go for Lols, and then you got the ESL, which owns the National ESL anyways, and they always have their Go for Lols. They got their IEM tournaments every 2 months, every month it seems these days. There's just crazy amount of events going on, and yeah, other than that, like, what do you have to watch? IPL's now stepped up. MLG hosted 2, well, more like 1.5 because of the difficulties at Rally, and that's kind of the big NA contribution to this point.
What about like the quality of players? Would you say is definitely European?
I got to go with the home base advantage to say NA, but I mean, you cannot deny the skill that EU has running for him right now. CLG EU, Absolute Legends, Fnatic, Millennium, and then, I mean, even compare that to the Asian markets again, like World Elite, very top-notch team to take an IEM like that. I mean, I like to always root for my home team, but you cannot deny that there are some fantastical teams and players out there on the other side of the pond.
What do you think about Navi picking up a team?
Well, Navi had huge success in Dota 2, so I'm kind of excited to see how they can bring that to League of Legends. CLG, conversely, they start off with League of Legends. They've actually now picked up a Dota 2 team as well. So I have to wonder if we're going to be seeing a lot of crossing between teams like that as well.
And also with teams, season 2, there's a lot more teams being formed. Do you want to see a lot of new faces showing promise, or do you kind of just like sticking with the big five that we're used to, like CLG, TSM, Dignitas, Epic, and Curse?
They're definitely the names that come to mind first. But for example, Reflex, right? They got 5th place at the MLG qualifiers, but because CLG got disqualified, they rose to fame pretty much from that one event. I'm not going to say they're a top 5 team, but they're definitely a top 10 team in my books. And they gained another stream follower out of me because they entertain me on their streams. It's really fun to watch. They're really fun to cast. So the other issue is that sponsors are now saying, okay, let's see. Heroes of Newerth, no real tournaments going on. Dota 2, still in beta. League of Legends, $5 million. Dear God, we have our decision. Sponsors have to look at it that way as well. There's a lot of money in League of Legends right now. So there are a lot of teams coming up. But the only ones I've really caught on to these days is Reflex.
So this is kind of more a fun question, but if you could make your own team, which players would you take on and for which roles? Like, you take St. Vicious as your jungler. Or who would you pick?
My own team. Well, I would be the AD on the bottom.
Okay.
And I would definitely take the support from Reflex. I think it's Lauta Morris, or I think that's his name. I can't say it, obviously. It's some other fun type of name. For my AP mid, or for my top, I would take Yun. Unicorn would be my top, because he's awesome. In terms of my jungle, it would definitely be St. Vicious or Odd One. Those guys are just too entertaining in their jungles. That would leave me with my mid. Who would I put mid? I kind of want to say Atlanta, but he wouldn't go mid. But I want Atlanta on there anyway, so maybe I'd throw Atlanta into my jungle and then Phantom Lord. I would totally take Phantom Lord mid with his revive teleport Karthus. I would so do that.
Kind of talking about players, and in StarCraft, player personality is really important. Like you build a lot of your career based on how people see you, how you build your fan base. Do you think that it is something that's important in League of Legends and that players should be doing more of? You do have your like hot shots and your DRS and things like that, but do you think that a lot more players should kind of get into the individual promotion?
Or are we talking kind of like the pro players that are established, or just as like up and coming here players? Or
just players just players in general, competitive, players in general.
Well, in any game that has a consistent element, for example, your username, it becomes a big social game, and the big social games revolve around your reputation. If, for example, I'm going to take World of Warcraft. You're on a server, you ninja loot, people start blacklisting you. All of a sudden, it's very hard to do anything on that server with people because you've ruined your reputation. It's not quite as harsh here in League of Legends, but reputations have a tendency of following around people. We know that Reginald, for example, the first word that comes to mind is he's mad, and that's they have a T-shirt. You mad, bro, because he's always raging. TSM are really known for raging, especially when they're drunk and streaming tournaments when they shouldn't be. That was a fun time. But yeah, I would say reputation definitely has to be a factor when you're going through this. Do you want to be known as a rager, as a troll? Do you want to be known as the nice guy, the good guy? And I think Riot is always trying to go more with, we want positive promotion in the game. And you saw they had their featured streamer section for a while there. Well, I can tell you, those featured streamers, not one of them are known as being ragers, And for a time, there was a lot of CLG was trying to clean up their act. They're trying to force a bit more of a professional face because they really wanted that publicity on that Riot front page. But, Guardsman Bob, he's really well-mannered. Shushay, can be a troll at times, but majority of the time he is, really well mannered. He's really polite, and he was, I think, their first featured streamer. And people got all upset about it, but that's because he's known for that, right? He's not known to go off on a tangent. He's not known to just get drunk and rage hardcore at people. So yes, short answer: reputation will matter, but it's really what you make of it.
So lots of teams are getting player houses a lot, like, Korean StarCraft or now American and European StarCraft teams. CLG is getting their house in Korea during that 2000K tournament.
Oh, that's crazy.
And Team Solomon's getting a house too. What do you think of houses for League of Legends players?
I can't imagine living with 5 guys is something that people would desire, but that's my opinion. I like living with my wife and, just us here in our house. Being in a team setting, it's nothing for me, but at the same time, I know it's a really big deal. In, for example, StarCraft, you get into that gaming house, you're getting paid to do gaming in the house, because that's the idea of it. TSM's had theirs in New York, and I think overall that's been a positive thing for them. They've really, when it comes down to it, in real serious tournament matches, they've really started to deliver very nicely. I mean, they've been winning some tournaments. They get really close, all the way to the finals. And you can definitely see a lot of their teamwork improving. If you go back and you chart like a lot of their games, they're like, oh, they're throwing the game, or oh, they're not in sync, oh, they're terrible. But after that gaming house, they really started getting their teamwork together, and they took MLG. They got second place, the recent IEM, and they've been doing a lot of scrimming as well. And those gaming houses definitely help facilitate that. It'll be interesting to see COG on Korean servers because, there's that typical stereotype. Korean servers are harder. So I'm very interested to see how their performance is, because their performance, in my opinion, has been slipping, over the last year or so. They've definitely, they're no longer solidified as number one in a lot of people's mind, and myself included on that. So I'm interested to see how that goes for them. It's nothing I think I would ever do personally, but it can be a very powerful tool, especially in these team settings.
So, there's been a lot of roster changes recently, like CLG, Kuristing, the Task Goose, whatever. One of the things that when I met with I interviewed Sundance at MLG Providence, and one of the things that's going on in the Halo community is that, it's really hard to identify with a team or be a fan of a team with all the roster changes. Like, do you think that in competitive teams there should be kind of more set roster for a specific amount of time, or are you okay with like multiple roster changes in a short amount of time?
From my point of view, multiple roster changes in a short amount of time tells me of team instability, which is nothing you really want to tell people that you have going into big tournaments like that. If you're going to be entering an event, give me your roster, and then I'm going to expect those people to show up. Because you've given me a roster, that's a commitment you're making with me, saying you're going to come to my tournament with these people. Great, I agree to that, you agree to that, let's have some fun. Having those short intermediate changes or rapidly altering their rosters, I can't get behind that. So, especially for a team game. I mean, this is a game where you depend on your teammates to work with you and keep you apprised of everything, and you kind of need to be in sync with them. If you replace 2 of them even, all of a sudden things are no longer in sync, and you could run into issues that will cost you games. And, well, I kind of want to avoid that. They lost because they didn't have their full team. To me, I can't get behind that stuff. So if you're going to give me a roster to a tournament I host, I expect those people to show up, and you've told me that that's your commitment. That's how I kind of see that.
So in the next couple games, we'll be seeing who qualifies for IPL, which is supposed to be March and/or April and/or May. Do you have any predictions for who's going to be there?
I don't think we've seen any upsets at this point in the qualifiers. So it'll probably be business as normal. I'd have to go back over the teams to get an exact idea of who's playing, but I don't think we're going to see anything too out of the ordinary at this point. It's too early to call.
And then on a similar note, do you have any predictions for the IEM championships in Hanover? I guess you can do like who do you think will make it out of the pools, and who do you think will take the championship?
Well, Absolute Legends has been doing very well, but I'm trying to remember if they're actually going to
Okay,
if they're actually going to that.
here. Let's see. We have also CLG, Fnatic, World Elite, Team Dignitas, Millennium, IG. That's Group A. Group B is TSM, SK, Moscow 5, Cypher, Curse, and eHome.
Well, based upon previous goings, I don't think Millennium, IG, or Curse are probably going to get out of their brackets. Just, of course, personal opinion. TSM, as I said, I mean, they've been rocking tournaments pretty hard. They're probably going to be getting out of that. But M5, you know, they rose to power in that last IAM. So there's going to be a lot of expectations on their shoulders that is not necessarily a good thing for them. It might add that extra pressure, especially in a LAN setting. I suspect they will come out of it. COG will likely come out of it as well. Same with Fnatic. Fnatic's a very solid team. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. So, yeah, just off the top of my head, might see a top 4 of TSM, COG, Fnatic, and M5.
Who do you think is going to win? Or I guess who are your bets to win?
As I said, M5, they're either going to perform excellently or they're going to crumble under the weight of these expectations that their new viewers are putting on their shoulders. So I'm going to say not them at this point. And I heard someone disconnect out of Skype. Are we still here?
As far as I know, we're still here.
Okay, so, thanks, Skype. Okay. Jerk.
I think we're still good. Nothing's been said otherwise. I guess we'll see. Maybe I'll check chat.
I'm expecting Fnatic versus TSM kind of in the finals. Okay. That's kind of who I'm voting at this point. Yeah.
Now I'm like worried that Skype's crashed, but it seems to be fine. And I guess kind of my last question for you is, how would you like to see the League of Legends community improve, and what do you think the future has in store?
Well, less trolling would always go down well, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. As I said, you know, in the future, I think we could definitely improve some quality of play with that pause function. It would definitely save a lot of games from going the wrong way, especially in the competitive, more competitive bracket. Not necessarily the competitive scene, but definitely the higher brackets. You know, you disconnect for 2 minutes, could be the end of the game, just right there. You push to your advantage, and bam, nothing you can do about it. So yeah, pause function would be great. If they can get some like a spectator replay interface going, then I would really expect to see commentators start going through the roof with content production from, you know, just any aspect at all. I know they've been working on a drop-in spectator mode feature for the game. If they got that out, then people could watch their favorite pros in real time. Well, I guess, you know, with the 6-minute delay, 3-minute delay. But you could just join up and bam, done. You're watching spectator. It's touted to be very much like Dota 2, where you have infinite amount of spectators you can just watch. It's like you're watching a movie. There's no interaction between you guys, but you're watching the movie. That kind of stuff, you know, all helps getting out the League of Legends, you know, name to the gaming masses. It helps flood it on YouTube, on Reddit, on the social media, and that's a great tool for promotion, for getting new people in, and for developing new talent like commentators, producers, video editors, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to see. I suspect we're still going to see those, you know, every new champion every 2 weeks. But I'm also very interested to see where Riot wants to go with the whole competitive thing. You know, they threw $5 million into it this year. Great. What's going to happen after that? What direction do they want to go? How much do they want to keep self-promoting, self-sustaining the esports scene? Are they going to, you know, kind of let it off into the wild and see how it lives? Or are they going to keep it on a short leash and still control a lot of it? So it's a very variable future in my eyes, but I'd like to see us, you know, just keep going. You know, we have a lot of support. You got a lot of viewers. A lot of people clearly love the game. So I'd like to see it keep going in the beneficial direction.
Okay, so on that note, do you have any final shout-outs or comments that you'd like to give?
Definitely to my wife because she sat here through this whole thing and now she's bugging me to go to bed. So big shout out to her. Uh, Big shout out to TSM, who I'm now going to be joining. It's a big opportunity for me in my career to kind of get that kind of experience under my belt. So hopefully I'll be able to deliver. Big thanks to you guys here at EndGame. And it was definitely a pleasure working back at the Edmonton gaming thing with you guys and Unicorn, of course. And just you guys can find me out there, FourCourtJester, just as it says here on the stream, on the Twitter, the Twitch, the YouTube, and the Facebook.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sean, for coming on the show. I know it's just past midnight there, and yeah, thanks for letting or I guess forcing your wife to stay up as you were doing this interview. And again, my name's Jacqueline Geller, and if you like the show or anything that ESFI does, definitely follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitch even, and check us out on Facebook. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week, 9 p.m. Sorry, now I'm totally messed up. It's 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. my time. So we'll be back next Wednesday with another guest. So thanks so much, and good night, guys.
Take care.